My only experience of Poole was when I came back from Weymouth 3 years ago and my train skipped the next 2 stations and headed fast for Bournemouth, which, funnily enough, when I went to Bournemouth on a completely separate trip, my train also skipped 2 stations, which I have not done today, but my train here this morning did stop at the intermediate stations between Bournemouth and Poole, and this is where I'm beginning a coastal walk today.
The next station is Parkstone. Parkstone. This train is on wait. The next station is Parkstone.
I'm starting off by cutting right down the high street. If I get stopped by the level crossing, at least I've got a footbridge to get over. If you come off of the high street, you can come to have a look at this old Guildhall building, which would have been a market area back in the day. You know, for as big a place as Poole is, I was expecting the station to be much bigger too. Something like Bournemouth perhaps, with barriers and lifts, but it felt a bit run down and a little bit disorientating trying to make your way out onto the high street, but I'm glad I'm now by the water. There's industry over that side, and then right next to it there's just a whole bunch of super rich yachts. There's a nice vibe by the water here. Poole is quite infamous for its historic dockyard, but you can also catch boat services from here to a National Trust island, I think it's Brownsea Island, and Swanage as well. In fact, there's a huge queue here. This might be for another boat service that's about to leave. You know what? That will all be Brownsea Island out there. What a brilliant start to the walk that was. Heck of a lot of people in Poole though. But why wouldn't you come out beside the water on such a glorious day? Made it up into Harbourside Park, and it seems like the circus is in town. These stones here are the remains of an old gunpowder store, by the way. I'm really enjoying myself so far. I haven't done much of the walk, but what I have done is more than enough for me today. I've been wanting to come out here and do a Dorset Coast walk for quite some time, and Poole seems like a brilliant place to start one. I've come away from the sea and passed underneath the railway because I noticed that there was a huge lake here in Poole Park, and I'm going to wander all the way around this to get back towards the coast. It's a lot larger than I thought it was going to be, but really nice to walk around. Poole Park has a second lake on the other side that is encircled by a miniature railway. This is a district line train to Poole Park. You've got this weird path that juts out into the water here. Well, I've got to take it, haven't I? Even though it's very narrow. I actually think that was one of the most fun paths I've ever taken on one of my walks. To go from a miniature railway to a much bigger railway, that was a fun little interlude in Poole Park, but I'm gonna head back in to Harbourside Park now that I'm by the coast again. And you can see how I have done a big loop around Poole Park and the lake, because I'm calling it the circus, is just over there. But I am back beside the water, not the lake water, more the sea water, but not for long. Now, Poole Harbour, where I've been walking, you could argue is not technically the coast and is more of a river estuary. It's huge. When you look at it on the map, it basically looks like there's a whole bit of land that's been swallowed up by water. This road behind me, I'm actually going to have to walk quite a bit of to head south to what is the proper coast, because it does almost feel like it's just a river that's heading up towards Poole, but because of the extent of it, it does feel like it's the proper sea and the proper coast. It reminds me in a way of Leon Sea, because even though sea is in the name, you can make a case for it still being the River Thames or the Thames estuary at that stage. Anyways, I've walked up the road and this is my first proper viewpoint of the water during that time. I've made it to a place called Evening Hill, which is this green area here. And as the name suggests, I'm going to take a guess that this is probably a really nice place to watch the sunset during the evening. It's just magnificent. I wish I knew that there was an open top bus service that ran down here, because I would have thought about getting it so I didn't have to walk along the road. Seeing Brownsea Island out there now makes me want to come back and get a boat out to it. Maybe one day, we'll see. Well, here it is, the proper coast. We're in a place called Sandbanks. Just up there is where the waters of the Poole Harbour come out into the sea. The land, of course, is continuing on the other side. That's all part of the Jurassic Coast towards Swanage, which would be absolutely incredible to visit. I'd love to do that one day. There is a ferry service which crosses over the Poole Harbour water towards Swanage, and during that gap as well is where you get a lot of the much bigger ferry services over towards France, which is, you know, well in that direction. As the name is implying, it is incredibly sandy, but also really, really busy. I mean, I'm walking all the way up the coast now and I can just see that it's littered with people all the way along. Well, there is only one thing to do in this situation, and I think that is just take your shoes and socks off and walk barefooted along the sand. I really needed this today. I just sat down on the beach and had lunch and sunbathed for 20 minutes and it was really nice. I almost fell asleep. I feel like I've been doing a lot of countryside walks lately, being out in the fields and whatnot. And on my last one, on the outskirts of Oxford, I had the realisation when I was walking down just a very mundane country road and going through some nondescript fields that I could be anywhere right now. And I had to remind myself that I was in the city of Oxford that morning. And that's the thing with them walks, is that unless there's any kind of notable landmarks, such as the RSPB lands on that walk, you can mistake it for literally anywhere else. And as nice as they are, I really wanted to do something different today. And as someone who lives in the city, it's always really nice to head out to the coast. And so, considering it's just such the perfect day for it, I really, really wanted to do that. And I'm so pleased I am, and I feel like I've picked a really beautiful stretch of coastline from Poole up towards Bournemouth. This is just the most fabulous walk. I feel like I used to do way more coast walks than I do now. Honestly, I really miss them. I'm loving this stretch specifically. Because it's sandy, I'm getting to walk all the way along in the water, which I don't get to do often, because if it's a stony beach, for example, it would just hurt to do this. There are several chines which you can come across on this coastal walk to Bournemouth. A chine is basically a dry river valley, and I think I've come across one of them now. It's now just used as a very nice path to take to access the beach. I'm not going to go up it because I'm enjoying walking in the ocean too much. Oh my god, it's getting even busier as we near Bournemouth. I knew that place would be busy. I didn't know it would be busy all the way along. There was an obstacle in my way. Some rocks. I felt it was maybe a bit too deep to go walking over there for me, so I'm climbing over them instead. I don't just go around, no, this is all part of the adventure.
Too short up and the Branson Shine now leading.
The water's way further in on the next groin. Too deep for me to go around or jump straight across again, so I've had to move up. Now I'll jump down there. Yeah. Ah, Bournemouth has a funicular railway. I didn't know that. I am making it up to Bournemouth now though. The pier, which I've seen from Sandbanks, is now very, very close. It's coming back to me so vividly now, but I can tell that the water gets shallower over there, and I remember from my visit here before, when the tide starts to go out, there's like little sand islands. I want to get to it, but it's going to be deep before I get there. I could race a wave. Hang on, as soon as this wave goes. Okay, now. Now, hang on, hang on. This has not worked well. Hang on, my shorts are very wet. No, hang on. How shallow actually is it? Oh no, I'm so deep in this now. I just have to commit. Oh, to be fair, it's a bit shallower. Why did I do that? That walk felt very long, you know. It looked so quick to the pier, but it really wasn't. And even looking back, it doesn't look that far from where I've come from. But I've walked all that, and I think that's one of my favourite sections of any walk I've done this year. I really, really enjoyed it. Welcome to Bournemouth. Right, do I race a wave back to shore so it doesn't get me? Hang on, hang on, hang on. We're racing that wave. We're not letting that wave get me. I think I got there at like the same time. I've made it. I'm underneath the pier. All that coastline is going to have to wait till another day. If you ever wondered how Bournemouth got its name, there is a River Bourne, and the mouth of it is pretty much here, but underground. And it's a classic case of, even though it's the mouth of the River Bourne, we call it Bournemouth and not Bournemouth. Weymouth is a similar situation. I found a quiet enough spot on the beach. I loved that walk so much. It was about 3 miles, but it felt way longer, probably because it was just so slow walking in the sea rather than, you know, a flat surface all the way. This is my first time back in Bournemouth since my first visit 5 years ago, and that was just a complete like random trip just to a place I've never gone to before. I've always felt like for Londoners, if they want a cheap day out to the beach, they either go to Brighton or Southend. But if they want a sandy beach, they come to Bournemouth. And I feel like it's a similar situation in the north. Everyone just goes Blackpool. Am I right? I've never been Blackpool. I want to go one day just for the sake of it. You might think I'm going to end the walk here, but Bournemouth Station is actually a while away from the beach. So what I'm going to do, in classic me style, is I'm going to do an even longer walk to a completely different station, but it will allow me to walk part of the River Bourne, which is heading underground there before it goes to reach the sea. I did wonder to myself, if I found out I was on the wrong side of the river, would I be able to jump it to the other side? I think it's just too wide for me to do that. Usually a river nearing its mouth is a lot wider, but this one is quite narrow, to be honest, and it just runs through a delightful stretch of gardens. It's kind of like one of these chines that I mentioned earlier, this path I'm on, but I mean, it's not a dry river valley, is it, this one? Wow, what a delightful old water tower here. River Bourne is just over to the side of it. I'm really loving this walk, to be honest. It's kind of been split into 4 different 3-mile sections. We had 3 miles dedicated to just Poole, then the section down towards Sandbank, then 3 miles along the coast of Bournemouth, and now we've got 3 miles along the River Bourne. So there's a lot of variety. As much as I would love to go back to the beach for the evening, I'm also quite glad I'm walking through here because this is quite pretty, to be honest. They're also very wet and muddy in parts as well, which is quite surprising. Definitely not a chine. No dry valley here. To start off with the wide expanse of Poole Harbour, and then walking all the way along the coast to just this gentle trickling stream that is the River Bourne at the end of my walk, the final glimpse. And to give evidence that we are indeed nearing the end of the walk, a station will be coming up soon, because here's a railway viaduct, a rather impressive one, but actually it's a double whammy. I'm very taken aback because I was not expecting there to be 2. At first glance I thought maybe they're both single track viaducts, so this is the London bound one and this is the Poole bound one, but that is not the case. This is a much more modest railway bridge, but again there is 2 of them. This one no longer carries passenger trains, but trains can still use it to access a train care depot. However, back in the day, at the end of this branch, there was a Bournemouth West station, which no longer exists. And that's where the second viaduct comes in, because that is a disused curve where trains could access Bournemouth West directly. I didn't know that the curve existed, nor the viaduct remained after all this time. So that was quite a surprise. I've made it to Branksome station at the end of my walk. I only stopped at this station for the first time this morning and now I'm already using it. I did think about potentially getting a train to Parkstone and then reversing just to get that one too. So I've done the 4 stations in a row between Bournemouth and Poole. And I thought I would be able to do that and have a 5-minute connection and make the same train here from Parkstone. But then I realised that I swapped the stations around accidentally when I was searching for train times, so I would have like 50 minutes at Parkstone. So Parkstone, I'm gonna come back to you another day. A fantastic diverse walk that was, for one which was supposed to just be a coastal walk. Definitely one of my favourites of this year, and I will absolutely be coming back to Dorset for more adventures some other time. For now though, I've got a 2-hour train ride back to London. The information screens are showing me that the train is very busy, but I think I'm going to do a sneaky trick, because at Bournemouth I think we pick up carriages, we pick up an extra 5 carriages, so they'll be empty. But at the same time I think there'll be a lot of people getting on at Bournemouth after a day in the sun, so I'll just have to wait and see. But I think moving to the other 5 carriages is going to be a smart play. We'll see if it plays off.
Any passengers who wish to leave the train at New Milton, you must make sure that you move into the front 5 coaches. Also, any passengers from Clapham Junction, you will need to be in the front 8 coaches. So once again, on departure of Bournemouth.
Still packed, but smart play. My only experience... Really? Wind? You had to do that?